Thank you, everyone, for joining the Silence So Loud podcast. We're glad to have you. We're going to do a little recap of some local Tampa sports. And then we got a very special guest that's going to come on the show. We have the wrestler Drake Zavior. That's Drake Zavior is going to be joining the show. He's also the multimedia champion, and we're just honored to have him as a guest today. But let's talk sports really quick before we have him on. The Rays have won the wild card. So it looks like they're definitely headed to the playoffs, winning the wild card. Still not out of it. Could win the division. Most likely will not win the division, but they are going to win the wild card. So that's great news. They've had a resilient season. If you think about all the starting pitchers that they've had injured this year, and they're still in it. And then our star, I won't even say his name, but at shortstop, we all know what happened to him. I don't even want to get into it. Just Google it if you don't know. But we lost a star. We lost starting pitchers. So I heard Kevin Cash talking about how they are just a resilient team. And absolutely, that's what they are. So they're going to probably be in the playoffs as a wild card because the season is wrapping up soon. 162 games these guys play. It's incredible. They only have 5 games left. As we speak, they have 5 games left. So it's looking like right now, if they did the playoffs today, they would be facing Toronto as in the wild card series. And when you look at the American League, I think from an unbiased Rays point of view, the biggest challenge they're going to have, without a doubt, is Baltimore. The one who's probably going to win the division is going to be Baltimore. Yankees or Red Sox are out. Can't believe we're saying it, but Toronto, Rays, and Baltimore are in. It's just been a wild year. When you look at the other side of the fence, so I got Baltimore and Tampa are going to be the two, are my picks. They're probably going to the series on that side. Maybe Texas, but we'll have to see. But right now, if I had to pick, I would say Baltimore, and I know that's the easy pick. When you look at the other side, the National League, you have the Braves, which they're at 100 wins. That is incredible for any baseball team to be at 100 wins. They got 100 wins. Of course, your Dodgers are in it. I favor the Cubs. I'm a Cubs fan. They're sneaking in, hopefully, as a wild card. But I said this a while back. When you look at baseball, I think that the Atlanta Braves are the team this year. They just look like they are standing above the rest of the pack. They just look like they have been further ahead. Whenever the Rays and Braves had their series, I was like, there's something about the Braves this year. They just look like they are ahead. So it's exciting times. We're headed into October, and playoffs and baseball is just a great time. I know the season can drag out. Like I said, 162 games. I know it can be a treacherous season, but once you get to the playoffs, that seems like everybody, the fans, the players, they just make great plays where you just got to do replays and go, how do you do that? It's just a great time for baseball. We all love October baseball. A little Bucks recap. Last night they played Monday Night Football against Philly. A little too much green in that stadium, in my opinion. I wish that there was more red. I made a joke about maybe the greens for USF because USF played solid against Alabama. We were completely wrong on our prediction. USF, we'll get into them later, how awesome they did against Alabama. But yeah, Philly brought it. The Bucks lost 25-11. There's some concerns when you watch the game. They could not stop the run most of the game. I mean, the Eagles were just running on them. And when it comes to our offense, I mean, Baker finally had a pick. You know, a lot of people say that he's had his woes with interceptions. So he finally threw a pick. And there's nothing we can do about it, but I wish Baker had just a little bit more height to him. I wish that he just maybe an inch or two taller, you know, because you can only do these rollouts to a certain point. And I also am concerned that the Bucks need a better running game. I think that Baker's one of those quarterbacks. He needs a good running game. So just slight concerns. But then again, NFC South, okay, they won the first 2 games. They lost a game. They're still in first place, NFC South, you know. And like they said, if they beat Philly, they weren't going to get too excited. If they lose to Philly, it's not the end of the world. They have the Saints coming up. Derek Carr has an injury. Winston came in. So there's a chance that we're going to play our old interception machine, Winston, whenever we face the Saints. So we'll just have to see how that goes. And another podcast, me and my buddy Antonio, we talked about how the teams that we thought just stood out. And I'll say it again. The NFC side, I got Philly. They are the standout team. Yes, they look like they had some issues last night, that they were not at their best. It's being reported today that Jalen Hurts, the brother Kelsey, Jason Kelsey, and a few other players had flu-like symptoms before the game. So they're out there playing with the flu. Don't know how severe it was, but it was something that was going on with the team, and they still delivered. And I am not a Philadelphia Eagle fan, so I'm not being a biased opinion. But I think when you look at the NFC, Philly is the standout team on that side. The AFC, man, that thing is wild. You got Miami running up the scoreboard. I mean, they didn't kick a field goal at the end. I know some people are torn about how they feel about that. I think it was a classy move by the Miami coach to not kick the field goal at the end to go for the record. He had, some maturity when he faced his opponent. They're like I heard Tua say today, they're not out there to embarrass any teams. So Miami just running up the scoreboard against a guy that used to be our nemesis in the NFC South, Sean Payton. Now he's with Denver, so good riddance to him. I'm glad he's out of the NFC South. So you got some wild stuff going on there. You have the Jets with their woes, with the Zach Wilson stuff, and just AFC, a lot going on there. So it's not as definitive, in my opinion, as how I feel like that the Philly is just the standout team for the NFC. But that's enough about sports. We're going to get into our main topic today, and that is, like I said earlier, we have a wrestler that's going to join the show. He's going to give us his personal time to just call in and chit-chat with the show, and we're so excited to have him on. His name is Drake Zavior. He's a wrestler. He's a multimedia champion, so stick around, and we're going to have him on shortly. All right, folks, I want you to check out a place called Bunker Depot. That's Bunker Depot in Sefner, Florida. Their address is 2004 South Parsons Avenue. Phone number is 813-816-2685. That's Bunker Depot. What do they have? They have rifles, handguns, shotguns, optics, ammo, eye, ear, and body protection. They want to educate, train, equip. A prepared community is a safe community. So go check out Bunker Depot. And tell you what, I talked to my friend Jason Buck. If you like or share the Silence So Loud podcast, or like or share Bunker Depot in the social media world, we're going to put you in a raffle to get a free box of 9mm ammo. That's a free box of 9mm ammo if you just like or share the Silence So Loud podcast, or like or share Bunker Depot. So once again, check out the Bunker Depot located in Sefner, Florida.
Hello.
Hey, Drake, what's going on?
How's it going?
All right. Thank you for joining the Silence So Loud podcast. We're so glad to have you on today.
Yeah, not a problem. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad to be here.
All right. So tell us about yourself. What got you into the wrestling business, the wrestling world?
Well, honestly, I feel like I got a late start into it compared to most people. Like, most wrestlers are like, oh, yeah, my dad had me watching it since I was 2 years old. I was like 15 or 16.
Uh-huh.
I had some friends that were into it, and I was like, I'll give it a try. And I started watching it, and I just fell in love with the sport after that.
Right.
So,
did you wrestle in high school, or you just kind of like...
Yeah, I did the amateur wrestling in high school.
Okay.
And did pretty well there, but me and my friends pitched in and had money. We bought a pro wrestling ring as well.
Oh wow.
We had that in one of our backyards, and kind of got started through that.
Right. And then
So,
what high school did you wrestle for?
Citrus High School.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Middle of nowhere, Florida. Don't worry about it.
No, I know where that's at. Yeah, my
Oh, okay.
yeah, my son wrestled for Armwood High School, so
Oh,
out in
gotcha.
Sefner. So
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah. So you bought a wrestling ring, and then you kind of said, "All right, like I'm gonna keep going with this," or
Yeah, yeah. I started. My friends actually were professionally trained, and they were helping me out with all that stuff. And I was naturally pretty good at it,
right,
and I figured, hey, why not try to make this a career? So, I
right.
mean,
And how long you been wrestling now?
on and off 16 years.
Oh, nice, nice. So,
Yeah.
and you wrestle mainly in Florida. Like I looked you up on YouTube and saw like a lot of your matches. Man, you got some great matches out there, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's mostly in Florida right now. I am trying to get out there more.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been consistent with my wrestling, unfortunately.
Uh huh.
Uh, like on and off for years. I've finally been going constantly to a specific promotion. I don't know if you've heard of WWN.
Yes,
Yes,
that's what I saw on YouTube. And you're correct me if I'm wrong. You're the multimedia champion for
I am indeed. Yes, sir.
That is a sweet title. Explain to the audience what that means.
Multimedia champion is basically every match that I have, whether it be pay per view or just matches that we have weekly, is going to be posted on every form of media that they have for the viewers to see.
Right.
So, in that regard, I kind of have WWN riding on my shoulders because I have to put on a good show or nobody's going to want to watch, you know?
Well,
So,
you put on a heck of a match from when I saw where you won the title. You had a three-way match with Daniel and Tyler. That
Tyler
was
Uriah and Daniel Starling, yes, sir.
yeah. Yeah, you
That,
guys were working that match. That was great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was one of the better matches I've had, and those two are amazing to work with. Props to them.
Right.
If you can ever get a hold of them, I would highly recommend talking with them. Also, they're fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, and like I said, I talked to Tampa Pro Wrestling. You work for them or independently or not with them so much?
It's when I have dates available and they can get me on the shows, I'm actually trying to get over there. I'm actually number one contender for the heavyweight championship right now.
Okay, who's that
But
against?
yeah, what was that?
Who will that be against? Your
Uh,
number
I
one.
believe I believe Bud Heavy is currently the heavyweight champion there.
Yeah, yeah. I think I saw that recently. Whenever
But
I reached out to them, I was looking at the roster, and I think he's a champion there.
yeah,
So yeah,
unfortunately, I haven't had free dates. This October 21st show that they're doing, I got pre booked up. I'm going to be flying up to New Jersey for Sean Hendrickson. I'm
oh,
always bad with his last name. He's the next level.
uh-huh.
It's so
Oh
trying to
wow.
get out of state more often. So
Right. So you mainly wrestle right now, like in Florida, is what you've been doing for a while, or
yes, sir.
yeah. And I think that Florida, like my opinion, and I know I'm biased because I was born and raised in Tampa. I
Hmm.
mean, Florida produces like the best wrestling, in my opinion. I mean,
It's up there. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I I will say because I have done a little bit of traveling. Up to North Florida. I've been to like Tennessee. Sorry, not Kentucky. And I have been to New Jersey one other time.
Hmm.
Um, the talent that's just everywhere that pops up, like there are a lot of unknown names out there that just surprise you every single time.
Right.
But Florida, we drive in the showmanship part of it. We need to make sure that the crowd is involved versus just going out there and doing things. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. Like, to me, when the crowd is in it, for example, the big companies. I've been to their shows, right?
Hmm.
And it's when you're there, you can tell that it's driven for TV.
Yes.
And so you kind of like if you don't have a great seat, you kind of feel like you're just like lost watching TV at home in a way on a big screen. But like my son and I, we went to Ring of Honor Wrestling where we got the privilege like to sit right in the front row, and just a way better experience from that perspective. Whenever you're, you know what I mean, like that live feeling, being
Oh, definitely.
interactive, just a way better show that way, you know.
Yeah.
So
I I remember driving out to like NXT shows around here, and the live shows were just a blast because they were more. The, the wrestlers would interact with everything you said. And you would see people that you've never seen before. It's always great having live shows.
right, right. And NXT, I've been to some of their shows. Like I said, growing up in Tampa, you know, there are so many wrestlers that I looked up to. Like, he's no longer with us, but like Dusty Rose was just like one of my favorites, and I met him one time at an NXT show, which was cool because my son was a baby, and he took a picture when I'm holding my son. Well, then I went back to it the next year with that picture. And I was like, please let me run into Dusty Rose. I want to get him to sign this picture. That'd be so cool. And his wife actually saw me holding the picture. I didn't know where he was at. And she's like, look at that picture, right? And I'm like, I have my son, and now he's 1 year older. And I'm like, yeah, I want him to sign this. So she grabbed him, and he autographed that picture. And that was just
That's
so
amazing.
cool. You know, I thought that was so neat. And then one time they were wrestling at Swamp Fest out in, I don't know if you're familiar with Atlanta Lakes. And
Vaguely.
yeah, they were wrestling out in at a thing called Swamp Fest in Land Lakes, and he just sat right there in the crowd, like right next to us. And they had Sheamus was wrestling, and a few others that are like names now. And he was just sitting right there, like all cool, you know, sitting with the crowd. So
Yeah.
so as far as like, you know, are you from Florida, or were you born here?
I moved down when I was 5, so I've lived here for most of my life.
Yeah.
But I was born in Jersey,
Okay.
so it doesn't really count. I mean, 5 years up there, I didn't even finish kindergarten. I was down here, so
Did
I'm,
you have any
I'm a Florida boy
wrestlers?
for the most part.
Do you have any wrestlers from Florida that you kind of like were like, these are my guys, like looking up to them, like these are, you know, my idols or whatever?
Um, Not particularly from Florida, honestly.
Uh huh.
I mean, there's a few people that I know, but like when I started watching wrestling, that's when it was all starting to click on me. And back then, it was 2006, 2007, I want to say, somewhere in there.
Right.
Me and my friends discovered TNA, you know, before it was Impact and all that stuff.
Right.
And that was when they got Kurt Angle, and they had AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, all that stuff. And they were putting out bangers every single week, every pay-per-view, all that good stuff.
Right. Right.
So,
So who would be your dream match if you could pick somebody, like past, present? Who would you? Who would it be?
uh, there's honestly a list. Like, I've always wanted to wrestle Styles because he's one of the best of all time.
Yeah, he's great.
Um,
Yeah.
Kurt Angle, like I said, like you know, gold medal wrestler. I wrestled in high school. My wrestling coach actually is 1-1 with him for they were my wrestling coach was an Olympic alternative
Right.
when Kurt Angle actually won the gold medal.
Right.
Um, let's see, Chuck Taylor. Honestly, I would love to wrestle him. Like,
That'd be
he
cool.
seems like a really fun dude. I feel like we'd mesh well and everything like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, that short list of people that I'm just like, I've been idolizing forever. So
What do you think about the direction of wrestling? Like you're a wrestler, you know the business. What do you think as far as like, how do I word this? You know, you got the two big companies. We all know them, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
then you got WWE. They merge with the UFC. You
mhm.
know, and there's all kinds of like, who knows what's going to happen. So, what is your thoughts on like the business? Like, where is it headed? Do you think it's in the right direction, the wrong direction? Kind of
Uh,
like, what do you think?
from what I can tell right now, wrestling seems to be, booming more than like it has been. Like it felt like it was on a decline after the Attitude Era. You know, when
Yeah,
they stepped away
right.
from that.
Yeah,
And from what I can tell, everything's been booming more. Like, more people are getting into it, or at least giving it a try. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
happy with the direction they're doing right now.
yeah, yeah. The Attitude Era, that was kind of like I'm, in my 40s, but like the Attitude Era was kind of like where restaurants are playing the pay-per-views, and people are just watching wrestling that had never watched it before. So I know that's kind of like the what people classify as like the top time of wrestling,
Hmm.
which I mean, I guess it is, but I mean, I definitely think it's booming. But the one thing that bothers me about the big companies, and if you think I'm wrong, just say, hey, I think you're wrong. But it kind of bothers me, like, you have last week where The Rock comes out, right?
Hmm.
And he just gets, it's all over social media, and you're getting all the clicks or whatever. But it
Hmm.
just aggravates me because, I mean, I'm not a wrestler, but it aggravates me that you have guys like yourself where you're just like, I mean, you're working these matches, and you're, keeping these companies afloat. And then you have these guys that just float in, and make an appearance, and kind of like, who knows what they charge for that, right? And
Hmm.
I wish that wrestling would just kind of get away from that, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, but I know,
It's
I,
I,
I
I I understand why they're doing it. From a marketing perspective.
right.
Genius idea. They bring in The Rock. How many more people are going to watch just because they know The Rock's going to be there?
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
that's
Stone
true.
Cold or Shawn Michaels, someone.
Right.
But I know, and I also get it. Hey, I'm working my butt off. I'm trying my best, and I get what, like 100 people see me here and there. But
Right.
it it all comes in time. It's all dues and what you can and can't do for yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, I guess because I respect wrestlers so much, I grew up watching wrestling, and not that I know the life of a wrestler, but I know that you guys like work hard, you're on the
mhm,
road, you're making appearances and all that, and then it just, in a way, I know what you're saying, like, it draws attention to the show, and those guys like, pave the way, but I just like in other sports, those guys will. I mean, I guess they come out and make an appearance like in other sports, but they don't really get involved with it. And I just find it kind of confusing sometimes whenever it's like these guys that have earned the top match, and then they just kind of go, oh, we're gonna go this direction. I mean, I guess from a financial marketing standpoint, it makes sense, but from a fan view, I just kind of wish that they would focus on guys like yourself, like the that are just wrestling like in your prime. You know what I mean? Instead of like guys that are way past their prime, and like bring them out for that one last whatever.
no, yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm just
I
rambling.
understand. You want to see the newer talent, the ones who can actually get in the ring and do stuff, actually go out there and show what they've got, versus somebody make a quick appearance and leave and pay them way too much money for a quick 5 minute hello, basically.
Right, because I was
Yeah.
thinking, if what if other sports did that, where you know what I mean, like where they're spending their budget on, what is talent, what worked 10, 20 years ago, right?
Hmm.
And you're making cuts on your current talent, but you're spending money on something that you already know is a given. That I
Yeah.
guess that's my complaint, is that I wish that they would focus more on the young talent, the rising talent. And I know that's me being biased, like from a fan point of view, you
Hmm.
know, but like The Rock is a big draw. No knock on him. I like his movies. I drink his tequila. It's good. I get it, but I don't know. But
Honestly,
yeah,
that's kind of nice to hear, because most people are still love seeing the legends come out and everything like that. This is one of the first I've ever heard someone say, "Hey, maybe they should step back and let the new guys step up and everything." So
right. Because I
that's
mean,
kind of refreshing to hear.
yeah, because I mean, I'll admit I watched it. They're like The Rock came out. He hasn't been out in years, and I watched it. But then I found myself going, this is very predictable.
Hmm.
Like he's not going to get in there and work a match because he's not going to risk the injury. So you kind of know what he's going to say.
Hmm.
And I think it's more for like your casual fans. Like that go,
Yeah.
oh, The Rock was on Wrestling there tonight. Cool. I barely watch it. But I think for your hardcore fans that they like, okay, where's this sport headed? You know what I mean? And who's the talent, and appreciate the guys that are actually paying the dues and doing the work. You know, so and like I said, I wanted to talk about like I got two of your matches. I kind of strolled through YouTube, was watching your matches. I was so excited that you agreed to come on the show, and the one match we already talked about, the multimedia championship match, which I thought was great. The other match that you had was with the New Heights Wrestling, Samuel Pendragon. You wrestled
Yes.
him, dude.
Yes, yes,
That was
yes.
another one. That was a great match that you
Thank
had.
you.
Yeah, I
Uh,
you did that power bomb at the end, and then you came off. Then you didn't end it with a power bomb. You came off the top rope, which I thought
mhm.
was just great and added to that. And so I thought that was a good match.
Thank you.
And then at the end of the match, I don't know if you caught it, but you immediately like turn heel and you just kind of like start welling on him. And then the commentator was great on it because he said they're taking his artifacts because you took like his sword, his shield, his mask, like you were taking
Yeah.
all his stuff, and the commentator's like he's taking the artifacts, and I just thought that was a cool moment. So
So it's over at New Heights Wrestling. I'm actually portrayed as a heel over there.
uh-huh.
No, WWN is one of the few promotions I'm actually a face, and they switched me over. I was a heel there forever. They finally switched me over, and I've been killing it. The fans are loving me.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a funny story with me and Sam Pendragon because he took some time off because he was going back into training and had to refigure out what he wanted to do for wrestling and everything like that. And we both are coming out. I come out. I'm the natural 20 Drake Zavior. I love Dungeons and Dragons, so I turned over. I tried that out, and it's been fun for me so far.
Right.
Hence all the references. But I got a nickname of the Paladin of professional wrestling through that.
Uh-huh.
But Sam Pendragon also goes by the Paladin of professional wrestling, and it's like, okay, so we have like a little rivalry going on up there about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's like he used to work with Princess Josh, and now I'm working with Princess Josh over at New Heights. So it's a whole thing. It's been great over there, honestly. I love the guy. Like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, you work with Princess Josh. That definitely seemed like it was great. Like the promo lead into the match, the interview before the match, that was all good stuff.
Mhm.
So what's on the horizon for you now? What's in the future?
So far, future matches, to my knowledge, every single Friday I'm wrestling over at WWN. They're going to be starting to produce their matches once again here soon. They had some issues with their video editors and everything like that, and they have some new people in there. They're finally catching up. They're going to be trying to put them out once or twice a week until we're
All
caught
right.
back up there. October, I'll be wrestling for a few different companies. I know that I believe Riot Pro over in Daytona or Deltona. I always get them mixed up, unfortunately. I'm going to be making a debut out there.
Mm-hmm.
October 7th, I'll be wrestling for Amp Pro Wrestling out in, I believe, Newport Richie as well. At least that's what I ran last time.
Right.
Then the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd are going to be a nightmare for me because the 20th I'll be wrestling at a fair or a carnival, something like that, for Florida Wrestling Empire.
Okay.
Who they were out of Ocala, but I think they're switching locations. The 21st, I have to be up in New Jersey for the next level show where I get to wrestle against Yoya. I believe I'm pronouncing it right.
Mm-hmm.
And 22nd, I have to try to make it back in time for FIP, which will be in Clearwater.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's
Wow. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Like you guys work, man. You work,
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate it. So, well, thanks for calling the Silence So Loud podcast, man. You've been an awesome guest. Why don't you cut a promo real quick if you don't mind?
Oh man,
Put you on the spot.
yeah. I don't know. Do you want a face or heel promo? What do you want from me, man?
Hey, it's you. Hey,
Me?
you're in charge, man.
We'll do a nice little neutral one. We'll do something like that.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So for everyone who out there who doesn't know, this is the natural 20 Drake Zavior. in every wrestling promotion and every realm that I have not been to. Stay on edge, because this is my story. I'm going to make it a critical success. Something sweet, simple, sweet, something like that, you know. I don't know if you get any of those references at all, but
that was great. Good stuff. You've been awesome, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, thank you.